So if you saw our other video on what to do with an enormous amount of Costco boneless pork shoulder, you know we cut a giant package up into 4 basic pieces, and with one of them we're going to make a pulled pork in the smoker. And there's really nothing better than that for a party or anything else, actually. It's the most fantastic application imaginable. I've got a piece here that's fairly small. It's about half of one of the 2 roasts that come in the big Cryovac package. But because it's going to be cooking for so long, we're not particularly worried about how evenly it cooked. The shape is a little bit odd, so if you were just roasting it and trying to get it to be perfectly medium rare, you might have a little trouble getting this thin end to be exactly the same as this thick end. But we're going to have it in the smoker. It's going to cook for a very long time. We're going to smoke it for about 4 hours and actually then finish it up in the oven, because that's going to help us keep all the juices, and all the shrinkage that's going to happen, those juices won't flow away. It'll braise, sort of semi-braise the pork, but we're going to give it a good 4 hours of smoke on the smoker. Beyond that, the meat doesn't really take on too much smoke flavor. So the first thing we need to do is season up the pork, and you can certainly do this the day before. I'm going to take a little bowl. I'm going to make a rub, which is about equal parts of my seasoned salt, call it about a tablespoon or 2. And you can get all these recipes on the web, and if you don't really feel like making the rubs yourself, you can buy them. Seasoned pepper. Just for the sake of argument, we'll call it 2 tablespoons of each. And my all-purpose blend. Okay? So you've got a nice little rub. I'm going to mix it up. And you could put it in a little shaker bottle, or you could just sprinkle it on the top. And you're going to want to season it fairly aggressively. Looks like a lot, but remember, this is still a pretty thick piece of meat. Turn them over. More seasoning. And don't waste what's on the board. Roll them around. Make sure you get the sides as well as the top and the bottom. Okay, and onto a smoker rack. If there is a fatty side, put the fat side up. A little more seasoning. Again, you could let it go overnight and let the flavors permeate. You can put it straight into the smoker. I don't find it makes a whole lot of difference, so I'm going to put him straight into the smoker right now. We'll come back in about 4 hours when he's done with the smoking phase and put him in the oven to finish cooking. Well, we've got our fantastic smoked pork shoulder off the smoker. It's been in there for about 5 hours. Normally I'd go for about 4, but it was cold and nasty out today. The smoker didn't quite get as hot as I would normally like it to be, so I left it in for an extra hour. You can see the color of it. It's got a beautiful smoke crust on it. It's sort of crusty on the outside, but you can see there's still plenty of juice in it. It's not nearly done. It's going to need a good 4 to 5 hours still to come in the oven. And why I like to finish it in the oven is this way you can hold on to all the juices. So I'm going to take this really nice pork shoulder, it's a little small, put it into a foil pan, and I'm going to cover it with foil and put it in a 300-degree oven for about 4 hours. Well, our pork is done finally. We'd had it on the smoker for 5 hours. We've had it in the oven for almost 5 hours. Ideally, you want to smoke it around 225, but because the weather was so crappy outside, we couldn't get a lot of heat in the smoker. So I let it go in the smoker for about an extra hour. So it was about 5 hours in the smoker. And then I put it into a 300-degree oven for about 4.5, 5 hours. And you can see all this amazing juice that is in there in the pan. And if this had been on the smoker the whole time, we would have lost all that juice. But now it's all here. It's going to make the pork delicious. It's going to be even more flavorful than normal. It's amazing. Take a look at that color on the pork. If we did this right, this should just absolutely come up. Oh, look at that. It just absolutely comes apart with no effort at all. This is why we call it pulled pork, because you just pull it apart. You could use forks. I like using tongses. Okay. You've got some nice dark, smoky, seasony coating on the outside. Look at that, juicy and soft and just the most wonderful looking thing in the world. Now you could add some of that barbecue sauce that I made directly into here. Or you could use it just as a condiment. You could also use a red barbecue sauce or a mustard-based sauce or any kind of sauce that you like. It's totally up to you. But I've got this fantastic pork here. try a bit. It's probably really, oh, it's hot. Oh, intensely smoky flavor, perfectly seasoned. A little spicy from the pepper and the rub, but not too much. This stuff is amazing. So, doesn't look like much now, but let's make a sandwich. Traditional would be white bread. I have these really nice barbecue buns, so I'm going to take just a little bit of the pork, drain it out a bit so it's not too wet. If you ever eat barbecued pork and it tastes like it's boiled and has no flavor, you're probably right. It probably has been boiled. You never really want to boil meat. You can let it steam in its own juices, but you don't want to boil it. Nice full flavor there. Let's take a little bit of this fantastic coleslaw that I've made, just to dress it up a little bit. There. And there, I think, is the most spectacular pulled pork sandwich you will ever have. If you like, you can add a little bit of this barbecue sauce right to the top. Give it a little more kick with some of those pepper flakes. And you could even use your favorite bottled sauce. It's not a crime. The barbecue police are not going to come get you and haul you away. A little smear of the red sauce on top is just fine. That is a pulled pork sandwich, my friends. Great stuff. Good for any party, any summer picnic, any time of year.